We're the Mizer Brothers.
Welcome back to the GT350 build.
In this video, we're gonna fix the oil leak. In the first video we showed you on this build, we were a little worried about it. I mean, I was not too worried about it because I bought it with an oil leak. It was burning out on a header. We assumed it was probably from the valve cover. You're gonna see exactly what the cause was here in just a second, but we were worried it could be a blown head gasket, maybe something worse with the motor. It does have 35,000 miles on it now, which is not a lot, but in the GT350 world, on a Gen 1 motor, this could be a problem. But we do get it knocked out in this video, and the answer was a whole lot simpler than we made it, but you're gonna wanna see what we had to do.
We're pretty sure we've located the source of this oil leak, and I think we're in good shape. You can see we've rubbed the bottom of the valve cover and got a little bit of oil, and it's mostly fresh. This thing just got an oil change. Right there, you can see oil dripping down onto it. And it's also dripping on the other run underneath.
Right back on that run.
So it's coming off of the valve cover. It's dripping too high to be the head itself.
Yep, so this right here is your valve cover. It's right down below that and then dripping right down onto the header, and it's dripping worse in the back here where I can't get to show you. I'll flip underneath here in just a second and show you where all that oil's coming from. But our main concern was that we were leaking lower than that, which would be the head, but it can't be that because it's hitting the actual header. And if it was a leaking head gasket, then it wouldn't be dropping on the header, which is what's creating all this smoke. As I slide back, you can see there's where your oil filter goes on. When we go to Fat House, they're going to change this out for a cartridge style that with the way this engine vibrates, that will back off and you will lose oil there. And then obviously if you lose enough oil, it's bad. That has actually happened on our 5.0 Coyote truck, the Wolf, and we ended a race night early because of it. Back here, let me try to get acclimated for you and try to get my little finger up in here. You can see a ton of oil right there. It's shining, and that is on the where the header bolts. It's on the header, but it's where it bolts to the head, and there's a ton of oil there. So we immediately see that and like, okay, well, that could be coming out of the head. Well, it's not, because it's on the back side of the header and it's dripping down from the top. We've tracked it. This is a good view right here. If you can see, the header is wet right there. You can see that little glare on it. That is where most of this oil is coming from. So it's coming and dropping down. It's hitting the O2 sensor right here, and then the belly pan is kind of really sopped up, and that's because you get this to drip and then you're driving and it flies out everywhere. So this doesn't actually come out, obviously, when the engine's not running. We don't notice it unless it hits that header and smokes a little bit. And if it wasn't hitting the header, then if say it missed it, then we would not even know this was a problem. We'd just be losing oil.
So the guy that was the previous owner of this car reached out to us. You know, we got this locally, so he saw our video. We've been able to ask him a few questions about this thing.
So the biggest thing to know is your 5.0, your 5.2 Predator, and then this, the 5.2 Voodoo. Absolutely, they do use a little bit of oil. Different engines, based off what you got, will use more or less. This thing, according to the previous owner, was using a quart of oil per 1,000 miles. Now, we don't think the engine was consuming that. Finding what we found now, obviously it's coming from this leak, a lot of it. How much? Well, he daily drove it like 30 miles each way twice a day, which is enough to get it up, spit a lot out, not know you're spitting it. Now, I drive this thing to Redline 20 times in the first 2 hours I had it. So I was like dogging it, and I could see smoke every time I would stop to go in somewhere. I could see smoke coming out from under the hood. So I was pumping a lot of oil out of that valve cover onto that header, seeing it smoke. I knew, okay, we got a problem. We may have a blown motor. Like, it was running great. So all it was doing was losing oil. One of the best places to lose it. Obviously, if it was the drain plug, that'd be better for at the bottom of the engine. But we think that's where it's at. We think it's isolated to there. We are going to go get a bore scope and get a really good look at this. We're going to show you that. And if that's exactly what it is, we're going to make sure the valve cover's not cracked, because if that's cracked, this was in a front end collision. As we've got in here, we've seen different components that have been changed. I mean, it's not likely, but there's a chance that that valve cover's cracked. If it is, We'll change the whole valve cover and the gaskets. We woke up inspired to jump on this today. We can't get the bore scope that we actually wanted for a few days, so we don't know if this valve cover is cracked or not, but we're gonna go ahead and get it off, because by the time we get it off, we'll be a couple days ahead if we do need to order one. So we're gonna pop that off. We've got the gaskets. We're actually going with Felpro. The Ford gaskets were substantially more expensive, especially from our Ford dealer. So we're gonna go Felpro. Let's get these bad boys on.
I'm gonna try to remove as little as possible and get this off. I may end up needing to take the airbox off. I hope I don't have to take the strut brace off, but you know, as soon as we get this replaced, we're gonna go romp on this thing and make sure it doesn't smoke any, so look forward to that towards the end of the video. Got lots of clips to take off, the coil packs and everything. A lot of these have a lock on them. Be careful, pull your lock out, and just don't want to break any of these. You don't want to have a little electrical gremlin be your problem in the future. Got everything unhooked, pulling these coil packs out. Pretty sure I don't have to pull spark plugs because they're down in the head, and yeah, there's no seal for that, so should be good. A couple more bolts to get to, and we'll be ready to pull this cover off.
So I was going over our channel analytics last night, and I found something amazing. 90% of the people that watch our videos are not subscribed, and that's a huge deal. Let me tell you why. When you subscribe, our channel has a much bigger appearance in size, and we're able to get bigger and bigger sponsorships for our builds. For instance, Corsa Performance reached out to us to sponsor the exhaust on our builds, and that's freaking awesome. And they did that at about 25,000 subscribers. The bigger that number gets, the bigger companies call, the more stuff we get thrown at us, and the crazier stuff we get to do for you guys here on the channel. So make sure you hit subscribe down below and help out you boys.
So yeah, there's one last valve cover bolt on the end on the front side. It's a dummy on the back, so we're good there, but gonna have to remove the airbox to get down in here to it. I've tried a couple of different extensions and swivels. It's just gonna have to come off. So I got the shroud off, and now with my swivel just coming on off. There we go. Should pop right off now, but we both know that's not gonna happen.
Oh yeah,
a lot better than where we were. Okay, sweet relief. Got a lot loose there. This back one here, I think, was still attached just a little. You can see that the bolts don't come out of the valve cover until you removed it. It kind of keeps them in place so you don't lose them. And I think I need to get another turn or two on this one. Okay, so here's where we were at. We couldn't get to this. Let's take this airbox out. Obviously, it would have been a lot easier if we'd just went ahead and removed the airbox. It was simple to do. I was just trying to keep from pulling out stuff I didn't need to. But with that out of the way, we should be in good shape now. I do have one more clip like this in the very back. I mean, you can see it. But putting a tool on it is a completely different thing. We are out of here.
Yeah, you can't do this without taking the airbox off.
Yeah, you know, there's just too much going on.
That's your valve train, guys. On the 5.2 Voodoo. Ain't she pretty?
Right in here is where it was leaking down onto the manifold on the headers, and you can see that with this design you've got screws every other one basically. Some places they're side by side, but there are spots where they decided not to put one. Well, this is where it happened. Let's go look at it on the car. There's nothing here to say it was leaking. Disregard this oil here, this is fresh, but this is where it was leaking, and a little spot back in there. So it was those back two, and this is one of those spots where you don't have a valve cover bolt putting any pressure on right there, and I guess just the heat and everything, it had allowed it to leak a little bit. that was our problem, I'm hoping. So we're gonna get this thing cleaned up and switch out all the gaskets on the valve cover and get it put back on.
So we've got the gasket replaced, the valve cover back on, and it's at this point, we left for lunch just a few minutes ago, but it's that point where we start Google searching and realize that on the Voodoo motor, which is what we've got, a lot of extra vibration, the valve cover bolts have a tendency to start to back off in the 15 to 30,000 mile range, and it's because of those funky vibrations. We might have gotten probably could have gotten by just tightening down a few bolts where they might have backed off. They say like a spin to maybe 3 or 4 spins. That could have been all we had to do, but we've got a new gasket on here. We'll have everything buttoned up in just a second. We'll go drive the crap out of this thing. She sounds good. Got it warmed up a little bit, running it out. Not necessarily the red line just yet. Learned our lesson on that. Jumping in a lot of these cars and just...
You gotta let them warm up first.
Yep. Don't want to dog stomp it right off the bat. I mean, I'm at 5,000 RPMs and it sounds like the motor's gonna blow up in a Voodoo, but it ain't even like close. Like you're just getting started. Sounds good. I think we're gonna be all right. I think we fixed it right there.
Looking at the heads and the valve cover and everything seems fine. I think, guys, we could have got away with just tightening everything up a little bit, probably. Yep. But we, you know, this being a new car to us, we really wanted to get in there and make sure, you know, we had our eyes on it. We knew there wasn't some big hairy problem that we were going to be in trouble with long term.
Absolutely.
And we went ahead and spent the time, and it was a couple hours fooling around with all that. Could have got away with 5 minutes, but I think we're fixed now.
I know we'll try next time.
Exactly.
And we'll probably check the other side just to make sure they're torqued down pretty good. Probably gonna name this vehicle in the next video that we have on it. I think we've about got it narrowed down. But hey, keep those comments coming on a good name for this build.
Please do that.
Gonna go 40 mile an hour from 4,000 RPM. It throws you back pretty good. Almost red line. I can't bring myself to go much past 7,500, and it's not from like what anything feels like, it's what it sounds like. It sounds like
you need to shift.
It sounds like you need to shift 2,000 RPMs ago. It's pretty awesome. We're gonna wipe the side of this valve cover real quick and make sure that we're not leaking. I mean, we've not seen any smoke. I don't smell any oil whatsoever. It looks very clean down there now. I mean, we wiped off just a little bit, but hey, we'll keep an eye on it, guys. Yep. I think we got it this time. Hey, if you're into GT350 stuff or Mustang stuff in general, we had a GT350 that we did a nice exhaust build out on. I'm gonna put a link to that playlist of all those videos right here. I think there's like 15 videos in it. And guys, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.